I have some bad news for you. You can be from WhatsApp University even if you're not spreading fake news. That's right. You think your parents are WhatsApp University graduates? Guess what? So are you, in a little bit of a different way. You're using WhatsApp English and expecting to get a good band in the IELTS. Well, honey, that's not gonna work out for you. And it's not your fault. You were raised with technology, with social media, with autocorrect, with too much laziness to actually capitalize the first letter of your sentences, etc., etc. But you know what? All of this can be corrected. We will figure it out together. I'm Asmita, your IELTS mentor here at Vedantu. And let me tell you how to write and speak properly to get a good IELTS band. Now, what is the problem with WhatsApp English? It might not be very obvious at first because you might think, I am intelligent. I know the difference between how I talk while chatting and how I answer questions in the exams. But the thing is, we chat so much. The frequency and volume of us being on our phones and talking to people is so high that we are being subconsciously rewired, and we might not know exactly how that affects us. You know, when the short form content was a new addition in social media, people thought it was groundbreaking, it was great, it was fun. Nobody really knew the downsides of that. Nobody knew how that would slowly rewire our brains to the extent that we just look for dopamine highs everywhere and lose our ability to focus on anything, right? So you really don't know how something is affecting you negatively until it does, because it's hard to predict. People in the 60s thought there were no bad side effects to smoking, and they would just smoke everywhere, even on flights, even next to babies. Smoking was openly advertised. In fact, it was even thought of as being good for health. It was only until the negative effects of smoking became known that advisories were put out and common public was made aware of the potential cancer risks that smoking has, right? So that's just to give you an example how things are negatively impacting you right now, but you won't know until it's too late. So I'm here to tell you how to fix some things that might have gone out of hand and how to backtrack a little bit and make that active and conscious effort of rewiring your own brain. Now, here are some common traits of what we do when we chat text. Chat text? Is that even a phrase? When we text and chat, whatever. So, point is, we use abbreviations. Before the smartphone, and this is not your fault, this is my generation and the generation, this is millennials' fault, that we had those phones with keypads where you had only the numbers, and each number was responsible for like 4 different alphabets. So if I wanted to type C, I would click on 1 3 times. So that would be A, B, C, right? So typing took a lot of time, and that's where these chat or text abbreviations came from. To save time, to send messages quicker, and there was always an SMS limit. You could only type an SMS of like for 50 words or 100 words. So to stay in that limit, to type faster, not waste time, abbreviations became common, and that sort of seeped into our texting habits even after the advent of the smartphone and the QWERTY keyboard. So now, even though you can type full words and full sentences and it won't take you that long, you still have the habit of saying you instead of you, IDK for I don't know, by the way, please, gonna, right? In fact, I've seen a lot of people do this before, okay? Forever, and which makes no sense because this would be fine, not fine, but I've seen a lot of people do that as well. So this has just become a part of who we are, a habit, okay? And this won't, you're not gonna type like this, type or write like this. You can take the computer-based IELTS where you'll have to type, or you can take the paper-based IELTS. You're not gonna write or type like this because you're not an idiot, and I'm aware of that. That's not the problem. I'm not scared that in your essay you're going to write, you should or dis. I'm not scared of that. The problem here is because we have a habit of typing like this, we have never actively focused on spellings. We have not consciously focused on spellings. And that's why we don't know how to spell a lot of words. If you think about it, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and just chatting in general could have had a lot of benefits for language because of the high frequency of using these mediums. You're constantly typing, you're constantly writing. If you think about it, this should have improved people's writing skills. But in fact, it has actually gone in the complete opposite direction. And a part of that problem is abbreviations and also autocorrect. I'm just going to add autocorrect here. Because we don't focus on spellings when we are typing, we don't get to learn the actual spelling, we don't get to practice spellings. The only time where we're actually consciously figuring out how to spell words is when we're taking exams in school, and that's not nearly enough practice. That's what, thrice a year when we are seriously doing that. So this has completely ruined us when it comes to knowing spellings of words, and that's a problem. Emoji as punctuation is fine. I'm not against it. Emojis are a great way to express your feelings in chat. But the thing is, we use emojis instead of actual punctuation. I know you're not going to go into your writing test and draw emojis. Of course, you're not going to do that. But the thing is, you won't know how to express your emotion using words because you're so used to expressing your emotion using emojis. You won't know how to add punctuation for emphasis because you've been adding emojis for emphasis. Next is a very obvious problem. No capitalization or punctuation because you don't capitalize, because you don't punctuate. When you actually have to do some formal writing, you wouldn't know what to capitalize and how to punctuate. As a matter of fact, nobody ever punctuated, right? Just think about the internet even 2 years ago. Nobody on the internet, be it, I don't know how many of you are actually on LinkedIn because might be too young for that, but LinkedIn is the most infamous for this. Nobody was using punctuation while typing. Everybody was making grammatical mistakes. And all of a sudden, boom, ChatGPT came along, and people who don't even know how to use comma correctly are now using M dashes. You see M dashes everywhere. Perfect grammar. And everyone thinks they're a master of the English language. Little do they know that there are telltale signs of using ChatGPT. Somebody who knows English well can instantly tell that you've been using ChatGPT. And obviously, if you know someone personally and you know their English level in real life and suddenly see them typing these fancy things on social media, you know they've used AI, right? So thanks to ChatGPT, at least people are using M dashes correctly. And M dashes used to be very high level punctuation. Only people who were studying creative writing or academic writing, or who were like constantly publishing a lot of their written work, only those people knew how to use M dashes correctly. Now all of a sudden everybody is an expert on M dashes. In fact, I'm sure they don't even know the difference between an M dash and an N dash or a hyphen, right? So, well, thanks to ChatGPT, punctuation is back in fashion, but we don't know how to use it. It's the artificial intelligence, not our human intelligence, that is bringing punctuation back. Next is fragmented thoughts. When we're texting, and I will tell you, I am this kind of a texter and it annoys everybody. Well, I won't type everything I need to say in one message. I will send 10 different messages. So I'll say, hi, that's one message. What's up? That's the next message. You know what? Third message. I've been thinking. Fourth message. I'm really craving pasta. Fifth message. So do you want to go out? Sixth message. So I will, this is how I text. And it annoys a lot of people, rightfully so, because the phone's constantly going off and off and off. And because of this and such habits, you might not necessarily do this. But while texting, we don't take the time to structure our thoughts. It's like blurting out things. You like just send whatever comes to mind, right? So that leads to very fragmented thoughts, and fragmented thoughts don't work in the IELTS, even while speaking or writing. Writing, you have more control over structuring your thoughts. Speaking, you don't have that kind of control because everything is happening so fast, right? So our processor up here has become a little slow because it's used to just blurting things out and then thinking about them later. We need to change that. And we need to get out of that habit. We need to really frame our thoughts properly before we start expressing them so as to not confuse our listener. Poor listener. Next is all the Hinglish or Tinglish, Binglish, Benglish actually, Manglish. I don't know if these are words, but they should be. Tanglish, Tamil, Tenglish, Telugu. You get what I'm saying. You know, your regional language plus English traps. Okay? And the problem with this is and this is a problem with a lot of bilingual people. Our brain, even though there are studies that show that bilingual people are smarter, so high five to all of you. The thing is, we are used to thinking in two different languages. So sometimes when you want to talk, it is always a mixture of your mother tongue and English. For example, if I start talking to you in English right now, तो मेरे लिए बहुत easy हो जाता है because we have this habit of thinking in both languages और उसको switch करना effort नहीं है बहुत ज़्यादा. और you know, very seamlessly and normally I can add different words जो कुछ English में है कुछ हिंदी में. You get what I'm saying, right? So I am able to switch so fast that sometimes, you know how your computer overheats, sometimes your brain can overheat. And then what happens is, for particular emotions, you can remember the word very well in Hindi, but you've forgotten it in English. And the vice versa is also true. You can remember a word very well in English, but can't in Hindi. And in the IELTS, obviously, the first one is a problem that, you know, you have the most appropriate, ekdam satik sahi word in Hindi, but you simply don't know what it is in English, or it's not coming to you. Even if you know it, your brain's just so overworked, it's not coming to you. That can happen. And again, that can happen with Tamil, Telugu, Bengali, Malayalam, whatever language you speak at home. That's a trap that we've fallen into, not only because of the way we speak daily, but also because of the way we text. We always talk like this in a mixture. Kal outing tha, I told him na. And even those very desi ways of expressing like are, na, da, ma, right? So all of that can slip in while speaking, and in writing, it just hinders our ability to come up with a correct English word. So these are some very big issues with the whole social media usage, and this is also just an extension of that, an example where, yeah, I told him, nah, bro, but he was like, I don't care. This is something you would text. Now, for this thought to be expressed in the IELTS, you have to say something like, yes, I informed him. So, yeah, I told him, nah. Yes, I informed him. Bro, you can delete. But he was like, I don't care. He didn't seem to care. So you have to make everything less colloquial, little more formal. You have to take away the slang. You have to make it polished. The grammar needs to be correct. Obviously, I know you won't write like this in the IELTS, but while speaking, your na and bro can come up, right? And you can use yeah instead of yes. That's completely fine. But again, everything else, this makes a much better impression than the earlier statement does. And we need to start thinking like this, at least for the time being, so that we can do well in the IELTS. Now, here are some common WhatsApp English phrases and how you can give them an IELTS upgrade, an IELTS makeover. Here are some examples. Yeah, I guess so. I suppose that's true. Use the word suppose makes you tad bit fancier. Nahi yaar, I didn't feel like it. To be honest, I wasn't really in the mood. OMG, really? That's actually quite surprising. He was like, whatever. he didn't seem particularly interested. All right. So expressing the same thought, but in a more formal and a more proper way over here. Now, what you can do to overcome these problems is let the first thought that comes to your mind be very WhatsApp-ish. Let it be very informal. Use that as your baseline. Work on it, right? So that becomes your skeleton, and then you give it an upgrade and make it better. Okay? So here we have government should do something. Pollution is very bad nowadays, to be honest. Okay, and TBH is a very good phrase to use in the IELTS. Just don't say TBH, use to be honest. So here, you can use this as a skeleton, build on it, upgrade it, and say something like, the government should implement stronger environmental regulations as pollution levels have risen significantly in recent years. So, see, the thought is the same, right? The expression is different. So you just need to work on upgrading your expression. It's not that you're out of thoughts. I'm sure you have meaningful discussions with your friends over text as well. Not everything you say on text is mind-numbing and meaningless, right? So use those thoughts, just give them a little bit of a makeover. That's where you'll have to put in your effort. Think of the right words, think of a better way to say this, and you can use that to your advantage, okay? Now, here are some very common WhatsApp to speaking or writing mistakes that you are at the risk of making. I'm not saying you will, but you can. One, this is a speaking mistake, specifically a pronunciation mistake. So depending upon the way we type, we might mispronounce certain things that affects our pronunciation score. So here, word instead of would. So just being able to articulate and enunciate better. Because in our head, we see the abbreviated short version of it. We're not used to saying it properly. And I'm going to point out here that, okay, that's the next line. So I was just going to say that it's okay to use gonna. In fact, that shows that you have the fluency of a native speaker. But here again, you don't overuse gonna, wanna, gotta. First of all, big no in writing. So don't ever use these forms while writing. Okay in speaking. Use them in speaking. You will sound more fluent, but not extensively, not all the time, right? You gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta do what I wanna do. I'm gonna do what I wanna do, and we gotta do what you, okay, whatever. You get the point. So don't overuse it. If it comes out in the flow, that's completely fine. And as long as you are making up for it by using other good words and sentence structures, the gonnas and wannas slipping in is not going to be a problem. Like when I said it's not going to be a problem, that didn't sound odd, right? It didn't sound like I was rapping or trying to speak in slang. So as long as it's coming out in a natural flow, it's not glaring, it's not standing out, it's completely fine. Don't use these in writing. Spell things out properly when you're writing, all right? Confusing your, there. Again, this is a major one in writing. And I can 100% guarantee everybody gets this wrong, okay? And actually these two, very commonly confused. So just remember that possessive, you are. Using contractions is extremely beneficial. It really shows good hold of language. Fluent speakers definitely tend to use contractions a lot more. So you can use them, but just remember that apostrophe RE is a contraction. This is possessive. And over here again, this is the possessive form. This is the contraction. And this is pointing out to the place where something is there, okay? Now saying he don't, she tell yesterday, again, this people do talk like this, especially if you listen to a lot of hip hop music, a lot of rap, a lot of contemporary pop songs as well. You will hear sentences framed this way. Just know that if you try and sound like a black person, if you're just like quoting hip hop lyrics, not only is that cultural appropriation, but you're going to lose marks for grammar. You see, when they do it, they're doing it with their native language. When we play around with Hindi, when we're rapping in Hindi or whatever language you speak at home, it's with the understanding that I've grown up with this language. It belongs to me. I can play around with it. There's a certain these are certain rights you have over your language, right? And we have that right over English as well. We've grown up with English. We can do what we want with it. But right now, we are in an English proficiency test. Go to a rap battle and use these phrases. That's absolutely fine. But at an English proficiency test, please make sure that you're able to showcase to the examiner that you know the correct usage, the right rules, and once you've done that, if you quote somebody talking like this, or if you say this for effect, that's fine. I still wouldn't recommend it. Don't do it. But if you can't show enough mastery over the language, using this is definitely going to hurt your case. So please don't do that. Make sure you're using correct grammar and the correct rules of SVC, which are the most, I mean, in most cases, it's rules of SVC that are broken in rap songs. So make sure you are using the rules, you're showcasing your ability to speak correctly, all right? And finally, here are some things that you can do to work on that subconscious wiring that's happened, okay? How to create that shift in preparation for the exam. So number one is, at least for a week before the test, use full sentences with proper punctuation. I would recommend doing this for months. Do this for months, get into the habit. It's going to do wonders for your writing. So just use full sentences, punctuate properly. And when you're doing that, turn autocorrect off. So if you have that kind of autocorrect, at least in the laptop you might, where it just underlines something for you if it's incorrect, but you have to make the correction yourself. On your phone, turn autocorrect off. Make sure you are putting in the effort of spelling all your words correctly. And do this, 1 week is bare minimum. I would say do it for months, okay? Avoid emoji reactions. If you are pissed off at something someone has said, if you're annoyed, you're frustrated, then instead of using this emoji or the angry emoji or the crying emoji, try to come up with different words that express the same emotion, okay? Read formal content. Spend your time at least 15 to 20 minutes a day reading stuff from the BBC, the Hindu, Nat Geo. Read it out loud. So a very big problem when you read in your head is that you read everything phonetically. What that means is, for example, if it happens a lot with this word, which is why I'm giving you this example. Okay, a lot of people while reading this will read this as epitome. Epitome, epitome, when the correct pronunciation is epitome. So a lot of times when we are reading, either we read everything phonetically, we don't know the correct pronunciation, or in our heads we think that we have said this word and we think that we know how to pronounce it. Only when we have to say it out loud do we realize that, okay, I don't know how to say this. It's more complicated than I thought. So when you're reading out loud, as soon as you get stuck with a word, you can quickly Google its pronunciation, listen to it, and implement it right away. So reading aloud is very important here. All right, and then use voice notes to speak in IELTS style responses. Record yourself constantly. Record yourself, listen to yourself. Track your improvement, compare yourself to other native speakers, see what kind of things you can incorporate, work on incorporating those, and over time track your progress. And a good way to track your progress is to do it for the same prompt. For example, if you've answered the question, what do you usually do in the evenings? At least record the answer to this 4 times. And each time try to upgrade your answer so that you can track, compare the 4th time with the first time, the first time with the 3rd time, see if you've actually improved, see if you've raised the bar. That's how you'll be able to get better and better. You have to put in this effort yourself. No one's gonna babysit you through this. This is all on you, all right? So that was it from me today. I hope you found that helpful. If you did, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, leave comments for me. I would love to read them, and share this with your friends who are also stuck in the WhatsApp English trap. Don't forget to subscribe, you've already done. Don't forget to follow us on our socials so you don't miss out on any updates. And I work very hard to bring all of this valuable content to you, so it would do wonders for me if you could just subscribe to the channel if you haven't. That's how I get to know that a video has resonated with the viewers. All right, take care. Thank you so much. I will see you again. Take care.